Okay, everybody. Well, welcome to our Tuesday morning sales training. Today we're in for a treat with Mr. Steve Young. Steve is out of Memphis, Tennessee, and he's been in the business for about 20 years. He was a former team leader and owner at a Keller Williams office. And how long you been here at EXP now, Steve?
We're in our sixth year. December
Okay.
was the end of our fifth year, so Gay and I are starting our sixth year.
Okay, so they've been at EXP for a little bit and been instrumental in helping EXP grow in the Memphis area and surrounding areas. So, Steve, anything you want to add to that about yourself?
No, Kathy, I appreciate the opportunity to be on this morning. We were on with Jay a little earlier, and you were with us. And the one thing I love about this company is the collaboration. When I did this at Keller Williams, people paid money to go to training, and in this company, we have more free training available than people can. I mean, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose with everything that's available.
Yes. Well, and I'll say, I mean, my background is KW2 for 7 or 8 years and with a broker there. And, that is true. We had to pay for a lot, but the training that we got was really with whoever the top agent might be in the office, right? The one or two. Here, the difference is you're getting poured into from top agents all around the country. So you only got just a little piece of knowledge, if you will, like I said, from the top agent in your office or the top person, one or two agents in your office versus the whole country. So it's just so much different, the training and collaboration. So today we're going to talk about really just business, kind of creating a business plan and setting yourself up for success. And so Steve, he's got a lot of stuff to cover today with you guys, so I'm just going to let you take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Kathy. And it's important to me that this is kind of interactive because nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour. So I'd love for you guys to participate, ask questions. Let's just kind of open it up and go that approach. When Kathy asked me to talk about this, I kind of titled the session today "Eating an Elephant," and then I thought, nah, it's really eating elephants for breakfast because we've all heard the old adage about how do you eat an elephant, right? There's only one way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Well, that sounds kind of goofy, but it's true. If you've got the time and the energy and the patience, you can eat a whole elephant. But there's two things that have to start. Number one, you got to start early because that's a lot to eat. And number two, you got to stay focused. And that's the exact same way in our business, isn't it? If we're going to succeed, there's two things we have to do. We have to start early and we have to stay focused. And that becomes the biggest challenge for us in business planning and organizing our business. I'll give you a couple of stats. 75%, this is amazing. 75% of people who get into the real estate business fail in their first year. 75%. 87% fail within 5 years. Now, did that other 12% just around because they had some money or they were doing it part-time but that failure rate, there's only 13% of the people who get into this business that succeed. And it's really not rocket science. I can tell you why that is. And Kathy, you know me, I'm kind of black and white about how I approach things. I'm just going to lay it out there. Most people are not willing to do what it takes to succeed. And that's the case with this business. It's a hard business if you approach it as a business. If you look at NAR statistics, only the average agent sells 1 to 2 properties a year. Now, I don't know about where you guys are, but in Memphis, that won't even pay your board dues and your expenses to be in the business. So I understand a lot of people do this because it's a second income or generates vacation money, and those things are great. But I hope everybody that's with us today is focused on maximizing your ability to succeed in this business because that's what we're going to talk about. Um, when I started thinking about this, and this, as I told Kathy, we've got about 4 hours to cover in an hour, so you guys are going to have to listen fast to kind of get everything in. Um, when when I started thinking about the difference in success and failure in real estate, it really comes down to where do you start your day and how do you start your day. Most people in our business, and again, I'm just being honest with you. Most people in our business start their day somewhere around 9 or 10 o'clock. They get up, they have their coffee, they watch Oprah or they watch the news, or then they go into the office, and then they in the office they grab another cup of coffee, and 4 or 5 agents are standing around talking about another agent or talking about a success or a failure, and all of a sudden it's lunchtime. So then they go to lunch, they come back from lunch, they get another cup of coffee, they make a couple calls, then it's time to go pick up the kids at 3 o'clock. And we wonder why we don't succeed because there's no plan. And so what we're going to talk about today is really how do you plan and when do you start your day? Now, for me, and this works for me, I'm not saying this is the approach for everybody. For me, I start my day about 4 o'clock in the morning. I get up early, I read the news, I have my coffee, I find out what's going on in the industry. That way, by 8 or 9 o'clock, when things start rolling and everybody else is starting to move around, I've already got all the stuff out of the way. The other thing I do is I plan my day the night before. When I finish my day, I take that plan and I take that plan and say, okay, what do I need to accomplish first thing tomorrow? What bite of the elephant do I need to take first when I start my day? And right now, if you guys were in my office, you'd look. I have on my desk an iPad, a laptop, and my phone. If you guys were going to guess which of the three of these, iPad, laptop, or phone, is my most important, what would you guess?
Computer.
Some folks say computer, some say phone.
Coffee.
Definitely coffee is number one. But we got that out of the way. I'm on water now. We've already moved past coffee. Well, I'll be honest with you. It's a trick question because none of those three are that important to me. What's important to me are these two things: my handwritten to-do or my typed to-do list and my physical calendar. And I'm going to challenge the paradigm of modern electronics. And I will tell you that one of your worst enemies is your phone. And here's why I tell you that. Because when you're doing this, that's all you can do, right? When I have my phone to my ear or I'm driving and I'm on speakerphone, I do not have any physical notes. I do not have anything. And people say, well, I put my calendar in my phone. Well, guess what? My phone's turned off. What good is my calendar doing me right now? None. And again, you got to find the system that works for you. But for me, I use a paper calendar because I can't hide from it. It looks me right in the face and it tells me exactly what I need to achieve. And it's the same with my to-do list. I make a to-do list and I highlight the things that I've achieved. And if you look on this list today, I haven't achieved very much so far. But so when I take this list at the end of the day today, everything that's highlighted will move off or down depending on what I've accomplished. And then the other things move up. So when I start my day tomorrow morning, I already know what I have to do. I've already got a plan sitting on my desk in front of me and I can't run from it. See, if I put it in my phone, I can turn this off or I could throw this over there on the chair behind me. And now my to-do list is in my brain. Well, the first challenge with that is anybody that knows me will tell you I'm not that smart, so I can't depend on my brain. So I've got to have a physical plan, and for success, the key comes down to having a plan. So as I was looking at the reason that 80% of real estate agents failed in 5 years, guess what number one reason was? Lack of training or a mentor. Well, we don't have that excuse at EXP because we have over 50 hours of training through the company, plus the Freedom Team and other groups that meet regularly every week, our broker meetings that happen every week. There is a person in EXP can't blame lack of training or mentor for not achieving. You know, one of the things I love about this company is the mentor program. Gay and I were talking about this the other day. She's a mentor for agents, and you know, a couple of agents complain about having to pay part of a commission for that mentorship. Well, I can tell you in Keller Williams and other companies, and by the way, when I throw out names of companies, I'm not bashing those companies, because I will tell you Keller Williams is an outstanding company. Remax is an outstanding company. They're just not us. They're great. They're just not us. So I'm not bashing those companies. I'm just talking about where I've been and what I've lived. You know, if you were with Keller Williams and you wanted training, you pay for a mentor whether you succeed or not. At Keller Williams, if you come on to one of these online classes, you pay $199, whether you get anything out of it or not. The great thing about our mentor program is you don't pay anything unless you achieve something. It's kind of a guaranteed return, isn't it? So that's number one. But the number two reason is lack of a defined strategy. No plan. We get up and we let the world dictate our day versus us taking control of that day and having a plan. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Then number three is lack of a marketing and branding plan. We'll talk a little bit about that. And number four is no financial plan. That's kind of how we're going to wrap things up is what should your financial plan be? So there's a guy named Stephen Covey who wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you know who Stephen Covey is, and if you read any of his books, he is kind of a leadership and a development and management guru. It's hard to argue with his success. And I've always said what I need to do to be successful is write a book. I haven't gotten that far yet. But his second habit of highly effective people is called begin with the end in mind. And beginning with the end in mind is you have to ask yourself, where do I want to be? What do I want the outcome to be? And how do I get there? There's an old Chinese proverb that says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that was kind of re-imaged in Alice in Wonderland. When the Mad Hatter asked that to Alice, he says, well, where exactly are you going? She said, well, I'm not sure. He said, well, so what difference does it make? And that's kind of how a lot of self-employed people approach businesses. We really don't know where we're going. So how do we determine what road to take to get us there, right? So we get through the end of the week and we're frustrated, or we're a year into the business and we have nothing to show for it. And if we look back, we really didn't have a plan on how to achieve what we wanted to achieve. So when we look at Covey, he talks about an acronym called ROAD, ROAD. And the R stands for responsibility. Well, that was pretty easy, isn't it? Who is it? Who determines our success?
We do.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And if you look at it, the woe is me people always blame someone else. The woe is me people always say, well, if it wasn't for this, or if it wasn't for that, or it's that big word. The biggest word in the English language is if, because we can put that in any sentence and totally change the sentence. So we put that word if into our business life. What do? We start placing blame. Well, when I determine success at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the year, I just go stand and look in the mirror. I just go look in the mirror and say, hey, do I have anyone to blame but myself? Nope. It really comes down to me. And let me give you an example of that. One of the things that I talk about a lot, those of you who know me personally, have seen me personally, you know, I could lose about 50, 75 pounds, and it would certainly improve a lot of things for me. Number one, I'd be able to run faster. Oh, that's right. I don't run at all. So that's not that big of an improvement. But I know exactly the key to weight loss. There is only one key to weight loss. Only one. You can read all this stuff online and all these magic treatments. And the key to weight loss is one thing. You take in fewer calories than you burn. Now, people have physical ailments and there are things that keep that from happening, and I get all that. But the reality is the only way you lose weight is you burn more calories than you take in. So if I'm so smart and I know this, why do I need to lose 50 or 60 or 70 pounds? Simple answer. I'm not willing to do what it takes to get there, right? I know what it takes. It's up to me to make the decision to do it. Oh, I've committed to it probably every January for the last 10 years. January 1, I'm going to lose weight this year. Why doesn't it happen? Number one, I don't have a plan. Number two, I don't follow that plan. Let me ask you this, and we're going to talk about goal setting in a few minutes. Is it realistic for me to think I can lose 100 pounds in a year? Is that realistic?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. But is it more realistic to think I could lose 2 pounds a week? Which do I have a better chance of accomplishing? 100 pounds a year or 2 pounds a week? Yeah, Tracy, you're right. 2 pounds a year, 2 pounds a week, because that's manageable. See, we do the same thing with our real estate business. We start setting all these huge goals, and we fail because we don't make them realistic and achievable. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Number two, letter of road is outcome. So when we talk about outcome, you have to look at what do you want to achieve. And here's what I ask people when I coach them in real estate. The first question I ask is, how much money do you want to make? Would you believe that the majority of the people that I ask that question don't have an answer? They say, well, I would like to. No, not what you would like. What do you want? And let me tell you, that key word is want, because if you don't want it, you're not going to put in the effort for it, right? I would like to lose 50 or 60 pounds, but evidently I don't want it because I haven't put forth the effort. So what do you want the outcome to be? What do you expect of your efforts? What do you want them to result for you? So I'm going to tell you this as we talk about goal setting in a few minutes. I'm going to bust another paradigm, and I'm going to tell you that being successful or being wealthy is not a goal. So if that's something that you're setting as a goal, you're starting on the wrong track to begin with, because being wealthy is not a goal. Being wealthy provides the means for you to achieve your goals. All right. So when you start setting goals, it shouldn't be a dollar number specifically. Your goal should be to pay off your kids' education, to build a lake home, to have freedom of travel. Those are goals, right? Money just funds those goals. So let's get out of the thought process of money being a goal. Now, we're going to talk about money as a goal in a few minutes, because that's going to be a benchmark for us. So that comes to the third letter, which is action. The A in road, ROAD. R, responsibility. O, outcomes. A, action. Another Chinese proverb. The Chinese get a lot of credit for these. I'm not sure they all should be credited to the Chinese. Not sure who said them, but another Chinese proverb is, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Nothing happens until we take action. So if I write all these goals down and I have my calendar and I do all this, but I don't take action, what good is this? It's just wasted paper and wasted effort, right? I can put down all the things that I want to achieve, but if I don't pick up the phone, or I don't go out and see clients, or do the things that I have to do. So everything I put down as a goal has a specific action tied to it. When I look here, it doesn't say Vic Raby. It says call Vic Raby. It doesn't say Fayette Road property. It says follow up on Fayette Road property. So when I put my goals on paper that I want to achieve, there are specific actions that take place for me to achieve those. Does that make sense? So we have a habit of making lists, but we don't put actions to them. When you put actions to them, then they're measurable. Okay. Now here's the toughest one. The D is the toughest letter in this word, and it's discipline. You know, do you know why gyms offer great deals at the beginning of the year? They give you all these specials at the beginning of the year. They don't give them to you in June. They give them to you in January. Why do you think that is?
By the third week, 75% of the people are not there anymore.
That's right.
That's right. There's some hype.
But guess what? They got your money. They got your money, right? All the people that are dedicated to going to the gym, like me, the people that are dedicated to going to the gym, they're paying. They're not looking at the specials, they're paying. They know that's the cost of doing business. That's the cost of being healthy and getting what they want out of going to the gym. Those of us who make this commitment on January 1st that lasts, like Kathy said, maybe 3 weeks, that's who they're marketing to. That's who they're marketing to, because they're going to take our money because they know we don't have the discipline to stick with it. So when you look at your plan, your road plan, responsibility, outcome, action, discipline, what things can you do to stay disciplined? You know, I've been fortunate to attend some AA meetings, not because I've had an alcohol problem, but I've had friends that have had alcohol problems that asked me to go with them and support them. And I've been honored to do that because it's something that's important to them. And if you've been to an AA meeting or been involved with anything like that, it's really interesting. An alcoholic doesn't say, I'm never going to drink again. An alcoholic says, I'm not going to drink today. What if we approached our real estate business like that? What if we said, it's not what I can achieve in 10 years, or I can be an icon, or I can do this. What if our goal was to achieve today? What if our goal was to make 20 calls today? If you've never made 20 calls before and you only made 10, would that be a failure? No, it wouldn't, would it? It would be a success because you've never picked up the phone and done it in the past. Now, let me help you with another word that you've got to eliminate from your vocabulary. No. You've got to get over that. One of the key words you're going to hear if you're successful in sales is no. And the reason is you got to get 100 no's before you get one yes. That's just kind of the odds, right? I think on cold calling, you have like a 4% chance of success. That means 96% of the time, somebody's going to tell you no. Once you get beyond that, I've got a good friend that's with EXP that he and I were partners at Keller Williams, guy in Texas named Trey Williams. That one of the key jobs we had, and Kathy remembers this, in Keller Williams, it was recruit. And my job as a team leader and business owner was to recruit. And I'd get real frustrated when people that these other companies didn't see the value proposition that we offered. Oh, I had my value proposition. I knew how to present that. And I knew all the flowery words. And I just get real frustrated. And Trey Williams who was my mentor. And by the way, Trey Williams is younger than me. A mentor doesn't have to be older. A mentor can be anyone who succeeded at the level you want to. So Trey is my mentor. He'd say, Steve, I got a word for you. I'd say, okay, here we go. I'm going to write this down. I'd say, what's the word, Trey? He'd say, next. I said, what? He said, next. I said, all right, Trey, what do you mean by next? He said, why are you spending so much time on the guy that said no rather than moving on to the guy or girl that can say yes? Next. So when we get in our mindset of discipline, that every no is an opportunity to work towards a yes, now we start looking at things differently. It's not the word no that bothers us. It's a motivation to get to the yes. So if we know that it takes 100 no's to get one yes, start keeping track of the no's. Start keeping track of how many no's, because then you're going to have that breakthrough. And what if that breakthrough comes at 50 rather than 100? How cool is that? So when we look at road, responsibility, outcome, action, and discipline, I challenge you to really think differently about how you manage your business. Because if we don't have all four of the letters working together, it's like having a tire out of line on your car. You start that wobble, right? And then you start becoming less confident in your car. And then next thing you know, you're switching to another car. It's not the car. It's a $25 wheel alignment. It's more than $25, but it's the cost of a wheel alignment. We go out and buy a new car, or we switch companies, or we blame this or blame that because we didn't pay for a wheel alignment. So when we look at ROAD, that's got to be our focus. How do we stay focused on managing our business? So that brings us to goal setting. And I love acronyms because I'm old and it makes it easier for me to remember. One of the acronyms for goals is SMART, S-M-A-R-T. Everybody has heard of SMART goals, but we're going to talk about it because we all talk about it and don't do anything about it, right? So going back to my 100-pound scenario, me losing weight. By the way, as I put this together, I decided that I'm going to refocus and I'm going to start losing 2 pounds a week. So my goal is not 100 pounds. My goal for this week is to lose 2 pounds, right? And guess what? If I stay on this for a year, I'm going to exceed my goal of 100 pounds. Why? Because 52 times 2 is what? 104. I'm going to lose 4 extra pounds just because I stayed focused. How cool is that? So that's math for today. We're a simple math equation. So specific, SMART goals. Number 1 is specific. No goal is of any value if it's not specific. And here's what I mean. Losing weight is not a goal. Losing weight is just a statement. Losing 2 pounds a week is a goal. It's specific. I am going to lose 2 pounds a week. 2 can be measured, right? Which takes us to the second letter of SMART, which is M, and that's measurable.
Hey,
Every
Steve,
goal, yes.
but what, so sorry. That was so weird. Something in my living room just said, I am listening. I don't even have a Alexis in here. I have no idea what that was.
Probably the government.
I apologize. So let's tie that to real estate. So you got the weight loss, right? So what are a couple of things? Because I want people to be thinking about this, that in the real estate space, when you're creating a SMART goal, can be specific.
Yeah,
right?
that's a great question. And here's the easiest one. If we're not very good at lead generating, we have to have a plan, and let's go down that road, because that's where most of us fail, is lead generating. All right. We get up in the morning and we say, all right, I'm going to lead generate. Well, what does that mean? Here's what you say to be specific. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I will start lead generating, and I will lead generate till 10 o'clock. Now let's take that even more specific. Starting at 8 o'clock, I will make 10 calls to past clients. Mm-hmm. At 10 o'clock, I will know exactly whether I've succeeded or failed, right? Between 8 and 10, I will send out 15 mailers to people in my neighborhood. At the end of 2 hours, I will know whether I've achieved that or not. And we really do, Kathy. I'm glad you asked that. We have to be that specific, because if we're not, we get frustrated because we say, well, yeah, I'm farming and I'm lead generating. No, we're not. We're just spending time. It's like going back to my weight loss. If I go to the gym and they got all this equipment there, if I just stand around and look at the treadmill, it ain't going to do me much good, is it? It's the same way with lead generating tools. If I don't pick up the phone and call someone, writing their name down doesn't help. So the specific is, I will call 10 people before 10 a.m. Not today, because the day gets in the way. And one of the things I always appreciated about Gary Keller was Gary Keller said, if you don't lead generate in the morning, you won't lead generate at all. And what he was saying is that we get busy with all the stuff. And let me tell you, I'm just like everybody else. If a client calls and wants to go see a property, lead generating just went out the window. unless I turn off my phone and put it away, and I turn off TikTok, and I turn off Facebook, and I turn off all the distractions. And for 2 hours, I do nothing but build my business.
If you tie it back to what you started with the plan, you have the names of those people written down the night before of
Yeah,
who you're contacting.
yeah, it's just like this list, Kathy. I do this before I go to bed at night because I don't sleep much anyway. I wake up in the morning, my mind's already racing. If I didn't do this at night, I'd never sleep because I would be I'm one of these people that's kind of intense, that if I don't clear my mind of the stuff I want to do tomorrow, it keeps me up. It keeps me up. So I can do this list at night, and then I say, I got a plan. I don't have to worry about the plan. It's already done, right? So I physically write down their names and phone numbers, or if I'm doing mailers, I already have the envelopes and everything over on my desk to be able to write those out. And by the way, our friend Jay Nelson always asks, if you had only $300 to invest in your business, what would you spend it on? I tell you what I'd spend it on: note cards and stamps, because handwritten notes are a thing of the past. And you do a handwritten note and you send it to somebody with your business card in it, there's a better chance that business card is going to stay, because people are less likely to throw away a handwritten note. Christmas cards are the same way. If people do these, the Christmas cards that are all mass produced, I can tell you what, on December 26th at our house, they're gone, except for a few that are personal. We keep those. Why? So when you contact people and you set your goals and you start doing those things, Kathy, I think that's a great question. It's important that you put it specifically who you're going to talk to and how you're going to do it. So measurable. At the end of the day, you can measure it. How did you get there? What did you do? And here's the other thing. What did you fail at? What did you not achieve? Because failure is a great opportunity to succeed, right? You remember when you started teaching your kids to walk, or ride a bike, or those kind of things? They'd get frustrated and you'd get frustrated. But then all of a sudden, boom, they take that first step, or they start riding that bicycle on their own. You remember the pride they felt? I remember as a kid 128 years ago, when I learned to ride a bike, how proud I felt, and not because I was riding a bike, but because my dad was proud of me, right? So when we start putting things that are measurable, now we can measure our successes and even our failures and start looking at what can we do to go to the next level. So SMART. The third one is attainable. It kind of goes back to the weight loss thing. Saying I want to lose 100 pounds is probably not attainable unless I break it down into one bite of the elephant at a time, right? The 2 pounds a week. So how are you going to attain it? If you set a goal that you have no plan of how to get there, it's really not a goal. So how are you going to attain it? All right, I'm going to make 10 calls a day specifically to these people, and here's my expectation of results from that. And how do I get to where I want to be? Well, I know I have to make 100 calls to get one result. So if I want 5 results, I got to make 500 calls. So make sure that it's attainable and something that you could do. Realistic. Look, if you're in your first year of real estate, it's probably not realistic to say you're going to sell 50 houses. It's doable, but reality is there's a lot to learn to get to selling 50 houses a year. And I can tell you there are a lot of great agents that don't sell 50 houses a year. So is that a realistic number? I can tell you what a realistic number would be. If the average agent only sells 1 to 2 houses a year, what if you did 5? Now you're 2.5 times better than the average agent. That's pretty cool. And we're going to talk about that a little more in a couple minutes. And then the final letter is probably the most important letter of SMART, and that's time-based. Everything that is worth doing is worth measuring from a time standpoint. In sports, you have 4 quarters. In football, you have 2 halves. In basketball, in the NBA, baseball, 9 innings. You know specifically how much time in sports you have to achieve your goal, right? Well, if we don't put a timeline on our goals in real estate, what good is it? That's why when you lead generate, you say, I'm going to lead generate from 8 to 10. From 8 to 10, there is nothing more important than lead generating. That means you turn off your computer, you turn off your phone. And here's the excuse that I always have from agents when we go through this. They say, yeah, but if a client calls, yeah, but if they want to see a house, yeah, but nobody's going to see a house at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? They hadn't even had their coffee yet. So they're certainly not expecting you to go at 8 o'clock in the morning. Here's the other thing that I always tell clients from a lead generation standpoint, and you can put this on your phone. I don't do it, but a lot of people do. They put on their phone, hey, this is Steve Young, commercial broker with eXp Realty. It's Tuesday morning, February 13th. From 8 to 10 o'clock today, I will be unavailable because I'm working to support clients. You know what I'm saying? So when you put it on your phone, nobody's expecting to hear from you before 10 o'clock. And if you put the right script, they're going to respect that. They're going to say, wow, Kathy's busy. And they're going to say, hey, call me. Now, at 10 o'clock, the first thing you need to do is turn on that phone and download those messages because you told those people you're going to call them, right? So on your list, right after lead generating, it's follow up, right? Follow up on text, emails. So from 10 to 11, you do that. Then you start to plan to go out and show property and those kind of things. Does that make sense? So setting that time and time blocking, again, using a paper calendar for me, I'm not saying this is the only way. Using a paper calendar for me is time blocking. I've got a good friend that was a master at this, that she would color code her calendar. And there's things you can look up online on how to do that. Color code her calendar, and each color meant something specific to her. I'm not that detailed, but I got to have this paper calendar in front of me so I can keep my goals smart. Any questions so far? Again, I know we're drinking from a fire hose, but I kind of want to get us through this as quickly as we can.
Can you repeat the R?
R was realistic. It's got to be something that can truly happen. You know, it's not realistic for me to say I'm going to run a marathon this weekend. It's realistic for me to say I'm going to run a marathon, but I've got to be more realistic in my timeline, right?
Right.
I could say after I lose 100 pounds by next February 13th, then I could set a goal to run a marathon by the following February 13th. So when we do our real estate goals, it's the same way. If we have a goal of selling 50 houses, let's don't plan on selling 50 houses in 1 month. Let's set a timeline that's realistic that we can achieve that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So how do we do this? So one of the questions I always ask agents when they first start, as I said a few minutes ago, how much money do you want to make? And they rarely can answer that question. So I always use a number that is a pretty attractive number for most people because the average family doesn't generate this much income. How would you feel about making $100,000 this year? I can tell you the majority of the agents I talk to have never made $100,000 in their life. That's just a fact. We know that if the average agent only sells 2 houses a year, they ain't making 100 grand unless they're selling weed on the side or something, right? So they're not making 100 grand selling houses. So I say, all right, 100 grand, is that a good number? And I've rarely had one say, no, that's, let's make it 600,000. So today for our exercise, we're going to use 100 grand. So how many houses do you have to sell to make 100 grand? Well, that's when it gets quiet in the room, right? So I go up to the whiteboard and I write down 100 grand. And then I say, what's the average sales price for houses in Collierville or Germantown or Memphis or wherever? And this is where I get the second blank stare because they don't know. Folks, if there is one number you got to know, it's the average sales price for your area, right? You have to know the average sales price for your area, because if you don't, you're like a doctor prescribing meds that you don't know what those meds do. Oh, well, Brian broke his leg. I guess he needs aspirin. Look, this is this is a job. And if we don't approach real estate as a job, we probably should do something else. And again, I'm just being candid. You have to do your homework. And the first step of doing your homework is knowing your average sales price. So for today, our average sales price we're going to use is 150K. Some areas that's a great number. Other areas that's a really low number. But for easy math, we're going to use 150K. So how much commission do you make on 150K? 99% of all real estate agents who have been in this business for any length of time can tell you 3% of 150K right off the top of their head. $4,500. We can't add 8 plus 8, but we can tell you 3% of any number in the world. So $4,500 is the average commission on the average house in my market. So if I'm gonna make $4,500 on every sale I make, how many sales do I have to make 100 grand? And again, I'm simplifying this because if we went into a full-blown business plan, and maybe sometime, Kathy, we can do a time when we really flesh out what a business plan looks like. But how many properties do you have to sell in a year at $4,500? Yeah, 22.2. So let's round it up to 23 because nobody's ever sold 2% of a house or 2/10 of a house. I've sold some that were only worth about 2/10, but so you've got to sell 23 houses in a year. So the average real estate agent goes, ooh, that's a lot because the average agent only sells 2. Well, let's eat this elephant one bite at a time. That's 1 house a month. It's not 23 in a year. It's 1 house a month.
2 houses.
Yeah, 2 houses a month. Yeah. See, I told you I wasn't a great mathematician. 2
It's
houses.
not 3%.
Yeah. Huh?
It's not 3%.
Yeah, it's not 3%. That's why I can figure it. But 2 houses a month, is that unrealistic? Yeah, it is for the average person. It is for the average person. But why do we want to be average? I'm not content with being average. I'm not content with just being another realtor. You know, we were talking about this, Kathy, the other day about icon trophies and all these things that we all get. And those are nice. That doesn't motivate me. What motivates me is being able to send my kids to college with no debt. That's a motivation. What motivates me is for Gay and I to be able to go on vacation whenever we want to, however we want to. That motivates me. Why not set those goals where you say, you know what? I can sell 2 houses a month. So let's say hypothetically that we set that goal of 2 houses a month and we only sell 1 a month. Is that a failure? No, it's not. Again, the average realtor only sold 2 houses last year. If you sold 12, somebody that's good at math, what's the percentage of how much better you are than the average? I mean, look, we got to get beyond comparing ourselves, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, comparing ourselves to others. And this is one thing that we've started doing with the regional rallies is we don't focus on just icons. You know what, being an icon, that and the $5 to get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. We don't focus on being icons. We just focus on being better than we were last year, right? Icon is a result of doing the things I have to do every day with my SMART goals. Icon's not the goal. Icon is a payoff for doing the things that I do to succeed. All right. So how do we get there? We got a goal, and you said, Steve, you've lost your mind. 22, 23 houses in a year. I don't have any plan to get there. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So how many leads do you have to close to do 2 deals a month? I don't know. You have to determine that. That's where you have to know your market. You have to know how good you are at calling and doing mailers. Are you good with social media? Are you good with doing the other things that you have to do to lead generate? I don't know. You have to determine that. And through trial and error, you'll find out. You'll find out. Some people have a better conversion rate than others. And until you do know that conversion rate, you're just spitting in the wind. So where are you going to get conversions? Here's my favorite. And I used to do this in one of my classes with new agents. I'd say the first thing you have to do is contact your sphere of influence. And everybody said, well, I don't have a sphere. And I say, that's the biggest crock I've ever heard. So here's the thing I always do with new agents. I say, all right, pick up your phone. Go to your contact list in your phone. So we all open up our phone and we go to our contact list. And I say, go to A, the letter A in your contact list. So we all go to letter A in our contact list. And I say, as soon as you see the name of someone that you have not talked to in the last 6 weeks, raise your hand. Guess what? I have never had a class that one person got out of the A's. Never. So let me ask you, do we have a lack of database, or do we have a lack of follow-up and using the tools we have? Right? So don't tell me you don't have a database. What you're telling me is you're not using your database. So here's the second thing I do with those people. And this is where the rubber hits the road. And this is where they start not liking me. I say, you remember that part where we said we're going to make 20 contacts? You're going to take your phone. There are 26 letters in the alphabet. You're going to pick 20 of those letters, and you're going to call someone from each of those letters. Yeah, but Steve, what am I going to say? I don't have any listings. Who cares? Kathy has a listing. Brian has a listing. Fred has a listing. Ask them, can you call and talk about their listing? I can tell you, if you guys want to market any of my listings right now, today, any of my listings or Gail's listings you want to market, have at it. Because you're going to help us and we're helping you. So when you call that person, it's here's the script. Hey, Brian, Steve Young, how you been, friend? How's your golf game? So we start chatting, and as we're chatting, I say, hey, I just wanted to tell you, we're doing this little thing at the office where we've got to get 3 leads from contacting our friends. And you're a guy that I know knows everybody in Orlando. So who do you know that might be looking for buying or selling a house? Brian's either going to give me your name, or chances are he's going to say, well, I really hadn't thought about it. And then here's my script. Hey, Brian, can you do me a favor? Can I put you on my list and kind of keep in touch with you from time to time, and just in case, because I know you got a lot going on and you're not going to be thinking about me every day, but I think about you all the time. But can I just put you on a list and reach out to you from time to time? 99.9% of the people will say yes. If they're my friend, they're not going to say, you know, Steve, I'd rather you didn't. Nah, I take that back. I have some friends who might say that, but most people want to help you. You know, that's the magnanimity of who we are as human beings. We have a built-in thing to want to help other people, right? Because that makes us feel good. So most people are going to do that. So number 1 is lead generate and use your sphere. Number 2 is take those names off that phone and print them out with their phone number and put them in a physical database, a spreadsheet of some type. I don't care what CRM you use. KV Core is amazing. But Tracy was talking about KV Core this morning and how good KV Core is. We have the tools, we're just not utilizing them. So now take that database and start generating leads through system number 2 that you have available to you at EXP for $93 a month that you pay to be part of EXP, is our national referral network. Now, let me tell you, I suck at workplace. I am blessed to have a wife who is very good at workplace, right? She is awesome at workplace, and she knows when leads are available. She sends leads to other people. When she sees one in Nashville, she'll call Kathy or whoever and say, hey, I just saw somebody looking for an agent in Nashville, and you may want to check out Workplace. Why would she do that? Who's Kathy going to call when she thinks of Memphis? The person who thought of her, right? Who's Brian Whalen going to think of when somebody sends him something in Orlando? The people that send him something in Orlando. Make it a point during that 2 hours every morning to have workplace as part of what you do. Same with social media. You should all be striving to get close to 5,000 friends on Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media you use. You know, they say social media is for my age group and Instagram is for younger and TikTok is for even younger. I don't use TikTok. It's way too time consuming for me. I'm starting to learn Instagram, and voila, who knew that Instagram and Facebook are tied together? You post on Instagram, it goes to Facebook. Learn something new every day. But part of your lead generation plan needs to be a social media plan. We have agents in EXP who are phenomenal at video. I am not one of them. If you're good at video, start developing a plan for using video for your marketing. Now, here's what I hear people say. Well, I don't like the way I look on video. Oh, I don't like the way I sound on video. Guess what? That's how you look and that's how you sound. The way we all look today is how we look and how we sound. So we got to get over that, right? Because when we talk to a client, what you hear right now is what they hear. My voice isn't different when I'm meeting with a client. They hear the same voice that you're hearing right now. So if video is something that you're not using, and I don't do it very well, we've got to get better at it. Number 3, vendor relationships. I can tell you for Gay and Steve Young, if we send you referrals as a vendor, we expect referrals back. And let me give you an example. We had a guy who's probably the best fence guy in the Mid-South for doing fences. He's done fences for us everywhere, never sent us a referral. Here's his excuse. Well, you know, Steve, Gay, I work with so many realtors. I can't do that. Well, you're sending them to somebody. Guess who is not our fence guy anymore? And I told him, I said, Russ, I love you. But, you know, I've sent you hundreds of $1,000s worth of business. You hadn't thrown me a crumb. Brother, if you can't throw me a crumb, I get it. But don't expect any more from me. We tell every vendor that. I can tell you our mortgage guy is loyal to us. Guess who we're going to send the mortgage to? Him, right? He's going to get the mortgage business. So he sends us referrals. Our closing attorney, the same way. Our inspector, the same way. I've got a couple $1 million commercial deal that I'm working on right now because of Gay's house inspector. Work those contacts and make it clear to them that if they're not sending you business, they can't expect your business for much longer. Number 3, marketing listings. You got to be out there marketing yourself. An employer of mine told me years ago, he who whispers down a well about the wares he has to sell will never make as many dollars as he who climbs the tree and hollers. What that means is people have to know what you do. I can tell you, everybody knows what I do. Everybody knows what I do. Next, farming. Develop a farming plan. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and knock on doors. There's lots of ways to farm. We don't have a lot of time to go into it, but there are a ton of ways to do farming, right? It's just like real farming. Not everybody grows soybeans. Everybody has a different approach. Find what works for you. Gay and I, we're not very good door knockers, but we're really good at sponsoring neighborhood events. You know, we'll sponsor the Halloween carnival for the neighborhood or this or that. Find out what works for you. Next is what I call the lowest hanging fruit in real estate that nobody wants to deal with. FSBO and expired. Ladies and gentlemen, they have their hand up. If they're FSBO or expired, they want to sell their property. Did you know the average FSBO makes 9% less on their property than if they listed it with a realtor? Well, just me telling you that's worthless. You got to put together a marketing plan that you take to these FSBOs that you could show them specifically in your area what houses sold for, right? So when I was selling houses, I'd take my marketing plan and I would show them the comps. And they say, well, you know, we really need to get $650,000 for our house. And I'm going to say, well, let me ask you something. The average house in your neighborhood sold for $480. Tell me why somebody's going to pay $650 for yours. And then I shut up. right? So when you deal with FSBOs, they're go online and I'm not saying that you got to look at just EXP stuff. Just go online and onto YouTube and start looking at people who do scripts on FSBOs and expires. There are hundreds of them out there, and find out what works for you. Then another thing is relocation. You know, in markets like where Tracy is in Atlanta and Orlando and Memphis, Nashville, they're big relocation markets. There's a lot of turnover. People are moving, especially to the Southeast right now. There is a ton of stuff going on. So start talking to companies. You don't have to go through the big reload companies that you pay them 40% or whatever that number is now, but start talking to companies and say, hey, I know you guys are moving a lot of people into the area. I would love the opportunity to sit down with your HR people and take them to lunch and just learn more about your company. You don't talk to them about working with their employees. You say you want to learn more about their company. Guess who becomes their agent? You do, because you did something no one else is doing. Everybody else is just sitting out there waiting for the phone to ring. So finally, a couple other things, and we'll wrap up. You got to have a wealth building plan.
It's
not important.
You're going to be doing brown mulch today and tomorrow, so go ahead.
No, we're not doing any brown mulch today, Wes. I can say that to Wes because Wes is my partner on commercial deals here in Memphis, so I can pick on him. If you don't have a wealth building plan, you need one. Number one, always budget your taxes and expenses. Because if you take in 100,000 and you spend 105, you're upside down, right? So budget how much you're going to spend and always budget taxes. I pay the tax guy before anybody else. So I put aside a separate bank account where when we get a commission check, the check goes into that bank account and 28% of the money stays in there for taxes and another 25% for operating expense. Then I write a check to Gay and me that goes into our personal checking account. So roughly 50% of every commission check stays in our operating account. All right. Number two, if you don't have a financial planner, get one. People say, well, I don't, this is what my daughter said. Dad, we don't have enough money to get a financial planner. I said, yeah, and you won't ever have enough money. A financial planner is going to start working with you because they're looking to the future. If you only got $100, they'll work with you because they want to help you turn that 100 into 200, which turns into more money for them. Get a financial planner. Number three, have an investment strategy. Where do you want to invest? You know what? We sell real estate. Why aren't we buying it? Why aren't we buying it? If you're going to talk to people about buying investment property, you need to understand it yourself. Then have multiple streams of income. That's another great thing about this company is you have a lot of opportunities. And then finally, if you don't need it, don't buy it. There's another quote. This one in Chinese. I think this one's from Mark Twain or somebody said that we spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people we don't know. Now think about it. The average realtor is wearing a Rolex, driving a Mercedes, and they can't afford either one of them. Have you ever had a client say, hey, what kind of watch is that? That's nice. Right? Here's what they care about. Can you help them achieve their dreams? They don't care about your dreams. They don't care about your dreams till they become your friend. Stop spending money you don't have to impress people you don't like. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. Number one, start your day with a plan. Number two, get real. Stop trying to fool yourself. If you're not going to do it, don't tell yourself you're going to do it, right? Number three, stop worrying about what others think, do, or say. They're not paying your bills. They're not paying your bills. Number four, eliminate distractions. If it's not making you money, it's costing you money. So when you sit down to do your lead generation, get rid of all the distractions. Turn off Facebook. Put your phone away. Shut the door. Tell the kids you're going to be tied up for two hours and give them a bowl of Cheerios or something. Eliminate the distractions. And number five is the most important. Have an attitude of gratitude. Stop counting your losses and start counting your blessings. When you do that, you find out life gets better because you're focused on the good stuff. Kathy, thanks. I went a couple of minutes over. I apologize.
That was good stuff. Thank you so much. We'll have this up on the replay on the Freedom Team. If anybody wants to go back and just pick up some of the things that he was talking about. And, it's starting with the plan and the end in mind. I think you covered a lot of stuff through that. So good stuff, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing. And we'll be back next week, guys. Same time, same place, same link. Every Tuesday's our sales training, and then on Mondays we have revenue share training. So if you want to come to that, we always have one of the top agents that have recruited a large team or have a large team training there on Mondays, 10 o'clock. Same link. Okay. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.